What's happening, YouTube? What's going on? And so, my name is Albert. What do you know about J. Krishnamurti? Do you know him? If you clicked on this video, maybe you do. And so, I'm a proud student. Over 10 years with J. Krishnamurti, maybe 12, maybe 14, who's counting? And Krishnamurti would not like me to consider myself his student, but I don't know any other way to say it because I'm using words. That's the only word that comes to mind. Krishnamurti doesn't want to be considered a guru, and I'm not a student. What he wants me to do is to use him as a mirror. Watching and listening to Krishnamurti over years, I've always wished that I was there so that I can explain things better for him, because what happens is Krishnamurti doesn't live the life that we generally live. He wasn't married, he didn't have children, and he was taken care of, and so he didn't have to work, and so he never had to face a lot of the things that we had to face, but he had the prospect. He had the aspects, and he was trying to share how to break out of conflict. And he had a great message, and people kept visiting him. But what I kept hearing was, Krishnamurti, I've been coming to see you for 30 years, and I still can't seem to grasp what you're trying to convey. I can't seem to get a hold of it. That's where I wish I was there. And so I'm going to do what I wish I could have done if I was sitting in that room with him. I'm going to do it here because he talks about getting rid of the reward and punishment system. And for a damn good reason. Number one, we inherited to punish. And we inherited to reward. And so we live that way, to either reward or punish. So when we do that, we end up causing conflict because we're constantly within the two. And so whenever there's the opposites, right, that duality of reward and punishment, then we're gonna be freaking swayed from left and right. And so when we are rewarding, we're feeling delightful and happy about it, but then there are times where we have to punish and then we're feeling terrible about it. And then there's a pleasure of punishing. And so he's saying to get out of it, especially if there's pleasure in punishing. He's saying get out of that reward system, but he explains it in so many different ways and why, but there's no practical applications. And so I'm gonna provide four. The first practical application that Krishnamurti probably never did because he doesn't live within our times is to practice never rewarding nor never punishing at a restaurant. Because that's where we reward or punish. Think about it. You walk in the restaurant, and from that point, you're ready to either reward or punish. And now, she brings the menus and everything is cool. Order. And depending on how long the food takes to get to us, will determine whether that restaurant is either good or bad, and whether they're going to get what type of a tip. And the tip is based on the degree of the service that they give us, and that you want to cut out. That's the best way to practice, because at a restaurant, you're going to get to feel all your emotions, man. And you're going to want to punish, and you're going to feel like they deserve to be punished, and you're going to feel that you'll never go back there again. And I'm going to give you my actual practices, because I've yet to punish at any restaurant whatsoever for years. I can't do it because the aspect of Krishnamurti is living through me. And so I can't punish. Restaurants, right? We know what happens, right? Okay, I order salmon. The salmon comes to me uncooked and start the whole shebang. Or what if I get food poisoning in this place? I don't know about this place now, and have second doubts about it and all that stuff. Or I could say, hi, this salmon is uncooked. Can you please eat it some more? And that's it. Without any adjustments whatsoever to the tip. Nothing. I'm going to leave the exact same tip. Why? Because I'm not going to punish. I'm not going to reward either. I'm leaving a tip as a customary practice, and that's it, not as a reward. So it's just a practice because we tip. And I'm practicing this J. Krishnamurti technique to get out of the reward and punishment system. And now, during many times while I'm sitting there, I had all kinds of instances, because one realization to grasp is that if I go to a restaurant, I better not be pressed for time, because right there I'm screwing myself. I go pressed for time, and now I'm all screwed up, because now any second that they're late, and so That's number one. I have to be responsible to make sure that I go to restaurants with enough time to sit there and eat. I also want to make sure that I'm sitting there to eat. And so I want to relax and eat. Next is for me to feel all the feelings that will come to me that is derived through all these patterns of my general way of treating them based on the service that I get. And so, okay, they're taking a long time to serve me, man. I can ask, hi, I placed my order, I want to check. I could get a little nudgy about it, but still wait because I really don't know why. The cook could be tied up. There could be something where they had to defrost the food. I don't know what's going on back there. But generally, it still gets tied into their tip, and that's the way they get punished. There's so many times I walked out of restaurants in the past when I wasn't with Jay, where I didn't leave a tip, and I walked out pissed off. And look it, I'm the one that was pissed off. They had to continue with the day. What happened to me happens to many customers all the time. And so I used to think that by me not tipping them was their punishment, like if they were going to feel it. And so I have a friend who still punishes, and I try to tell him, don't punish. And he says, no, they deserve it. And he really feels like they are suffering over it. And I'm looking and they're serving the next customer. And so he's carrying that, which is so nasty. Now I get to see what happens when someone carries the punishment system. And so restaurants, man, when I'm hungry and I order food, the freaking 5 minutes could be a really long time. And so now I'm practicing to wait, knowing that I'm not going to die, because there's always this feeling like I'm going to die if I don't eat. And so trying to spot all these moments of the reactions or the resentments that I start building up, things that I wish I ought to say, or I start to play the tapes of how terrible the place is and all these things. And I'm allowing them to travel through, and I'm not acting out on it at all. The next thing is that there was a time I went to a restaurant and I ordered pancakes, and it took 40 minutes for them to serve it. Now, they never got to serve it because by 40 minutes, I got up and I left, which is fine. Now, here's the practice. I told them, I'm sorry, I can't wait any longer. It's been 40 minutes for pancakes. And they left, but the next week I came back. Because I'm not going to punish them on the account that, oh, I'll never go back there again, because that's a systematic pattern of punishment. And then that whole system right there of they deserve it, they lost a customer, and I never go back there again. That's all punishment, punishment, punishment. To not leave a tip, punishment. To leave a less of a tip, punishment, punishment. But I want to get out of that system, because if you realize how dangerous the reward and punishment is, and if you know J. Krishnamurti, you ought to know how damaging it is, the conflict, just carrying that, then you want to get out of it. And restaurants are something he never talked about, and that's the best place to practice getting rid of the reward and punishment system. And now I get to also practice being timeless, because we don't want to follow the clock, because the clock will also dictate the feelings. And if it's 10 minutes, then it gets worse. 15 minutes, it gets worse, and that starts to press on me. So there's no time. And with practice, over the years, I'm able to sit at a restaurant and just do things. It's not like I'm sitting waiting to be served, waiting for the next thing, or counting. I'm not counting anything. There's no time. And so I'm just going with the flow. Or I may take that opportunity to observe my surroundings, the table and the colors, like Krishnamurti recommends, to actually be there without a like and without a dislike, and just try to observe, which is so good for us to get that clarity and that sense and that new quality of energy by doing these exercises. And so now the second is to never negotiate, because we're also taught to negotiate. Go buy something for 50 cents and we want to, okay, how about 40 cents? And we're constantly negotiating. So I dropped that entire prospect. I do not negotiate whatsoever. I pay the price and walk away. That time that's taken to negotiate is so freaking time consuming. It's a wastage of energy. And this practice here, where's the bargain? I don't get it. Like, unless it's for a really big freaking sale, like maybe if you buy a house and it's for, a lot of money and you're getting thousands off, maybe that doesn't belong in this conversation. But for general things, the daily things that we go out to buy when we're shopping, and here we are nickel and diming someone, which I've seen people pissed off when they wanted a discount and they didn't get it, and they walked off and never got what they wanted. And now look at that. And so this negotiating thing, it causes upset, it causes resentments, it causes hostility between both sides. Because I remember I watched a customer battle it out. And the lady's trying to say, Jesus, I'm not going to make a profit. And the guy's like, oh, no, I want to pay this because I bought 3 items. And he's like, well, no, I can't go any lower than that. And then he said, F off. And she said, F you too. And it turned into a fight over negotiating. So there's so many times, like, when I went traveling, I made it my business to negotiate it up. Like an example, they want $1 and I say, I'll give you $2. I made that my practice because I wanted to get rid of that nonsense of trying to get less or trying to bargain and try to feel like I got a good price. And so that 50% thing off is a game. And so I don't play that game. I don't look for 50%. Oh, there's 20% off. I don't do any of those things whatsoever. And so I'm not in that realm to ever get upset about anything in regards to negotiating. And so no punishing at restaurants, no negotiating, no rewarding. If anything, have fun. And when someone says 50 cents, give them $1. You feel so good about it that you shocked them and you gave them more than what they expected. And so what? If you have it, do it. So it's so freaking cool to do it. So that's number 2. Number 3, I don't accept any rewards whatsoever from the supermarkets, the card where you get the points and you accumulate points and they say you have membership and then you tell them the number. I don't have that. I don't have go to this coffee shop and buy 9 coffees and get the 10th one for free. I don't participate in none of that. Because that's also another thing where entitlement comes in, expectations. There's a drive to actually get it. And so this thing with the reward system, any type of outlet that has memberships out, no credit card points, I don't want anything to do with that stuff. They give you a list of things that if you got 500 points, you could get this. 5,000 points, you could get this, all the way to big prizes for the point system. And it's such a freaking system of what Krishnamurti doesn't want. I think during his days, he cannot point these things out because they weren't doing that the way we're doing it now. And so this is a good way to apply getting rid of the reward and punishment system through these 3 that I gave you. Now, the 4th one is never punish kids, plus your surroundings. I've been around a 6-year-old through his whole life, and I've never punished him, ever. I've never said, if you do this, then we could go. If you're a good boy, then I do not do that, which there's a bargaining thing in there. I see it happening with his parents. They do it all the time, and there's resistance already in the kid, and there's this fight between him and them because there's always this thing of punishing the kid on that degree with allowing him to do something which is a kind of punishment. Because if you're not a good boy, we're not going to go, which is punishment. If you're a good boy, we go, which is the reward. No. Or you get this if you do this for me, or that. This could spill into relationships, which I don't punish in relationships either. If you do this for me, you didn't do this, so now I'm not going to do that for you. That is a real big one. And so there you got it, man. You got 4 techniques where you can apply getting rid of the reward and punishment system, which takes a while. You also don't want to take what I'm saying at verbal value. This is a verbalist endeavor, like Krishnamurti. Like these words, if I could take them all back, I take them all back. You need to apply it now and really go out there and really sit and watch who you really become. You're going to get to know yourself at restaurants. You're going to get to see, especially when you have that bad time at a restaurant, because that day will always come where the service is going to suck and you're going to be up against maybe even getting kind of uptight, which is okay. If you get naturally uptight at a restaurant about something, that's okay. Because now it's a natural response based on something that really got you upset, so get upset. Walk out upset. But really be it without regret. Now, if you have a regret, or because of the knickknacks, or it took too long, or those little stupid things, then that's different. But a real thing where you see another table getting served and not you, get up and walk out. There was times where I told people at a bowling place, right? I went to a bowling alley with the kid. I told them, your business here is terrible. I told them straight up. But I'm not taking that back. I didn't say sorry. I told them it is terrible because they had us change lanes. It was broken and we freaking lost the groove and only stayed 20 minutes and paid for an hour. And I ended up seeing a bill for so much money. They charged me full price for the whole thing after the terrible service, but I spoke my mind. And so this is not about being a doormat for any of them. You know, you're not a doormat. If you see someone's trying to overcharge you, the minute I see someone trying to overcharge me and I know it, I walk away. Nothing else says. So it's not like being a sucker about it. I'm firm at the same time. And when I go to a restaurant, there's a certain kind of expectation I have, but it's on a different level because I'm trying to get rid of the reward and punishment system. But by all means, if their service really sucks, I'll let them know, but it's not punishment. I'm letting them know that their service sucks. If it was really bad, then I just won't go back because it's really that bad, but it's not punishment. Not to be thrown around and to accept a cold dish. No, this is a cold dish you served me. Can you heat it up? They come back and it's still cold. Can you heat it up? It's still cold. Well, damn it. Yeah, that's not punishment. Because I'm not saying, I'm not going to come back here anymore. I'm not trying to get back at them so that they feel bad. It's not punishment. It's the actual reaction of that place sucking. Also, within your relationships, try to find any way to never punish them, but to sort things out without a punishment, which means not an outcome because they did something bad about it. And so now they're going to get punished. But you should be able to square things away. That doesn't mean that you allow her to freaking step on you or him to step on you or to take advantage of you either. You see the difference? If you hung out this far and you freaking followed me, you're going to be freaking in great hands with that freaking chunk. Just reward and punishment out of your life, I promise. And until the next one, catch ya.